live. Oh my God.
Praise be.
Thank goodness.
Good.
He made it.
Behold, the
Gotta
gods
put
of the
it on
body
speaker
roll
view.
have descended upon us in grace and aliveness.
Let's put it on speaker view, Red.
I did it. I did it.
Okay, because I'm not seeing it yet.
Well, I did it.
Okay.
I did it.
There
Hi,
it
everybody.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Peace and good night.
Wonderful digital
For joining
world made us late, but we're here.
Right. Yes,
So-
thank you though for joining us for this week's edition of Bedtime Stories.
Bedtime stories. Everybody calm down because it's time for bed. And we're happy to be here, and we're very happy this evening to have special guest, DJ Spinna. He's fancy, he's worldwide, he's, a lot of things. And the wonderful, beautiful, tall dancer, Be Polite, and he's much more than a dancer. He's a teacher, he's a poet, you'll find out. My name is Red.
Involved. My name's Cynthia Rose.
Hello.
This is good fun. See, it's totally unscripted. You could tell that, right?
It's talk show light.
Right. Thank you all for joining us. We did have some technical difficulties. It does not mean, however, that we will be running late. What it does mean is that anything that you missed while we weren't on IG, you can catch in our archive footage on YouTube, and you can find the link in my bio. If you have questions for either of our guests, Be Polite or DJ Spinna, please ask them in the chat, and we'll try to get them in there for them. But thank you so much, both of you gentlemen, for being here with us tonight. We're super excited because we know you have lots of stories that we want to hear, but I'm sure other people want to hear it too.
The other people. Wonderful. So how you guys doing this evening?
Doing all right. Doing all right.
Okay.
I like it. Spinna showed up with lighting. And Be Polite, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. Like, this has been a good evening. So
Okay.
I'm definitely rocking with that. It's a full week, and yeah, Smurfy.
Smurfy. I haven't heard that in a long
Murphy.
time.
So we usually like to start with just you going through a little bit, or telling our guests a little bit about who you are and why you think we invited you to be here with us tonight at Bedtime Stories. So I guess let's start with Be Polite. Who are you?
Hi. So I'm Brian Polite. Wow. So one of the members of Second to Last, formerly known as Second to Last Poets.
Oh, Be Polite is stuck.
Sometimes this happens.
This
One of
happens,
the
but at least
virtual-
we're live.
Right.
Poet, writer, scholar, dancer, designer, doer of things.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be busy. It's supposed to be. You got to have a lot of jobs.
That is true. That is true. And we love your style, to be quite honest with you. I'm sure that if you've ever been to a party in New York City, it's likely that you've seen this brother in that party because he goes to all of the good ones. So,
Correct. Spinna,
Yes.
tell us who you are. Why do you think you're here?
Okay. DJ, producer, event planner, promoter, remixer, music, record collector, music nut guy. And I think that I'm here because I have some history in this, music scene, the club scene, and New York City nightlife. Been doing this for a long time, and I actually find it really interesting that you paired me up with Be Polite. I have an
Because-
idea why, but I kind of want to know from your mouths, what made you.
Well, typically, like for this platform, we try to pair people up that are similar but not the same.
Correct.
So you two have definitely been in, many circles together, right? And you probably have like many connections together, right? But you're not the same.
Man.
So that's one of the reasons why we paired you two together.
Well, I'll go on record by saying that when I'm about to DJ or if I'm approaching a venue and I see Be Polite on the line, usually he's the first one on the dance floor and he's the last one to leave, full of sweat.
Mm-hmm.
It's in my contract.
What's that?
It's in my contract.
It must be, a virtual in the air contract that's unspoken, because for sure, I feel like we have a very great camaraderie and a connection. Even though we don't speak often, we communicate through the vibrations that we give each other. Because I definitely feed off of you when I see you doing your thing as a dancer on the dance floor. Like I look for you.
Oh, wow.
I always, sure. I'm like, where's Be Polite? Is he out there? I'm looking out. If I see you, then I know I'm in good hands.
Yep.
Always. And you know what? It's, we're talking about 20 years now, bro. Like maybe a little over 20.
A little over. When was
Yeah.
when did you do this party? Because the thing is, I had heard about you from when I was going to Pratt. It's funny, I heard about you through Bade.
Yep.
Through Bade, because Bade Francis is the Desola, the dancer Desola. That's his cousin. So Bade was plugged in. Bade and I went to
Froze.
Yes.
Froze.
He'll be back.
Froze again.
He'll be back.
He put me on. So he was like, yo, man, Vincent, yo, we went blah, blah, blah. Yo, he's an ill-ass DJ. Yo, we got this group. You got to hear them. Okay, cool. And then Aisha Bell, the visual artist, all of us were in this group called Second to Last. We were a poetry group.
I remember that.
We all went to Pratt together. So Aisha's like, yeah, my best friend Keita, her boyfriend's gonna DJ my party. Come to find out, that was Spinna.
Yeah.
So both of them are two different people that I knew are like, yeah, this guy, he's supposed to be dope. You should check him out, bro. And it's Spinna. And I think the first thing I saw you at was there was this party that you did at someone's house on like Lafayette, just off of
Brother Natural's house. It was Brother Natural's house in the neighborhood.
Yeah. So I showed up at that. I had to be like, I think I walked through the door at like 2:30 in the morning.
Yep.
Like maybe like the last hour of the party.
Yep. That
And
technically
just like,
is our first. That's the first Spinna Keystar party, technically.
yeah. And basically I've been going to damn near everything I can ever since.
It's crazy.
Like,
So am I right to guess that Be Polite, Brian, you were at Spinna's wedding?
Yeah.
So you're not strangers, you're not in parallel worlds, you are buddies.
We're brothers.
Brothers.
Well.
We're connected.
And one of the
Spinna's one of the people responsible for Afro Mosaic Soul existing.
Tell us about it. Look at that.
I mean, so you tell the tale, there's a number of DJs that are responsible for a random group of dancers in Brooklyn becoming Afro Mosaic. The first one, of course, Ian Friday, because that's where almost all of us met. All of us met going to Ian Friday's Brooklyn Tea Party, open mic performance party things. And then what led directly to Afro Mosaic forming up was the Journey Party at Club Love on 8th and McDougal, Spinna and J-Lock, Thursday nights.
I remember that party.
Yeah.
And the thing is that for whatever reason, the decor of Club Love was so crazy that most regular club heads could not take it. Like most regular nightlife people were like, this place is freaky. Because you would go, you know,
Downstairs.
Frozen again. But I know what he's talking about. I know exactly what he's talking about.
Well,
Women used to feel a little
right,
vulnerable.
so you go down these stairs, so you're already freaked out. Then you pay your money. Then you go into the first room with the bar, and it looks like it's like something from the Flintstones, like it's carved out of rock, like a cave or something. So that's crazy. Then you go past that, and there'd be like this little like indoor waterfall with like a grotto with like all these little cubby holes.
You're talking about Love.
Yes.
Yeah, Club Love.
Okay.
Like all this like shag carpet.
Right. I call that the Dr. Seuss
Everything.
room.
Right.
And you just see people like arms or legs like hanging out from there, and people in can't really see what's going on. So that's freaky. Then you go, and if you pass that, then you go into another room, and it's just a room for no reason, nothing in it, but these black paintings, all fluorescent, all up and down the floor and wall. And then you get to the main dance floor.
Yep.
And for most club goers, by the time they went through that, they were traumatized. So then they would stay for like 10 minutes. And they'd be like, okay, this is too much, and then leave. So what ended up happening was myself.
Frozen.
Himself.
Frozen.
He's frozen.
All of us that become the founding members of Afro Mosaic.
Wait,
We were the only ones that were going.
Wait, Ryan.
Wait, Brian, wait.
What?
You froze right on myself. Myself and
Okay. Oh, damn. Okay. So,
I went myself.
So myself, Scott Wiley, Steph Wiley, Ebony, Jabril, Lisa, De'Ara, like all of us that became the founding members of Afro Mosaic, we were the only people that were going regularly Thursdays. And we were basically just there all the time, every week for the whole summer, hanging out, dancing. And I think somebody randomly was just like, are you guys a dance company? And you're like, no, we just hang out. You know, and it was an idea that we kicked around for years. And we would do like random shows for people, like different combinations of us. Like sometimes it would be us and Sabine, or us and homegirls of ours, Naye, or it'd just be like different grouping. But for whatever reason, that group of 6, we actually started saying like, yo, we should really do something. Like for real, we should really do something with this, because people are asking us. And, you know, so anytime you didn't see us on the floor, Spinna, we'd be having a on the side meeting about like, yeah, we should meet up and we should do something outside the club. And, you know, we'll meet at Scott's house or we'll meet at Steph's house and we'll talk it up. We got to come up with a name and a concept. And those are like the first meetings that led to Afro Mosaic Soul. And so then around September, October of 2005, we did our first show at SOBs. Errol Justry put us on because Jabril can talk his way into anything. And mind you, none of us are Haitian. Somehow Jabril talked us into a Haitian event for us to do a dance performance. None of us knew anything about traditional Haitian dance, anything.
So no compa is what he's saying as he froze.
No,
Right.
no zouk.
No zoom,
You know,
no
voodoo,
compa,
like,
no.
no compa, no voodoo, like no parts of no Haitian dance. Didn't know nothing of it. You know, like I was still new to Ashe, so I didn't really know anything from dancing with them. And somehow we just kind of did a freestyle house thing, you know, that we put together with like a handful of rehearsals. And that was like our first performance.
Wow.
Were there a lot of people there?
There were a lot of people there. It was at SOBs, it was a whole thing, you know, like a lot of people showed up. I think the most honest compliment we got was, we really liked the dancing, but it would
That was me that time with the
and
sound.
so
Wait,
yeah.
you got to repeat that compliment. What?
Oh, they said that They said that they really liked the dancing, but they would have liked to see something more Haitian.
Of
Okay.
course.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
All right, but they liked it, which was a great compliment, especially
exactly.
considering that they were there for a Haitian event and expecting something to come out that was more Haitian, related to Haiti, right?
No, absolutely. Like I said, like we didn't know what we were walking into. Like all we knew was, okay, we got the group, okay, we got a name, and Jabril got us a show. All right, great, we're on the roll, we're doing great, we just started, and then figured it out like, just before we went on stage, like, wait a minute, this isn't going to work.
Okay.
Nice.
Right.
So Spinna, I have somebody here in my chat named Eddie Unknown that said, ask Spinna if he remembers Ubiquita. That's a
Of course. Yeah.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
I remember too.
Of course.
We were
But why
all
don't
there.
you tell us a little bit about how well, firstly, what I really want to know is more about how like you got started in this journey that has brought us to this state right now, right? Because this is so much of it's your life.
The
Right.
journey that has brought us the journey.
Yeah, right?
Right.
Well, okay, so what's the thing that this is the way that I ask other people is what is the song or the music that turned you out that you were like, that's it, I need this?
Man, I don't even know where to start with that, mainly because I've been playing records since I was like 2, 3, 4 years old. And, I was always like infatuated and enamored and just overtaken by DJ culture from the inception of it. Like from listening to BLS and 92 KTU, Pettibone, and all the DJs that used to deep disco mix on the radio. Of course, fast forward into the hip hop world, I was always interested and I always knew I wanted to do it. I was always that shorty watching other DJs play in block parties, basement parties. Like, I can do that. I'm going to do that. You can't tell me I can't do that. I'm going to do it. I've been buying records since 77, 78. My dad used to take me record shopping. My dad, rest in peace, used to, he was a body mechanic. And somehow he always brought crates of records home that I know he didn't buy. Like, I think he was holding DJs, like people whose cars he used to fix. He would hold their records ransom or something for payment and bring these records to the crib. So I ended up amassing a lot of what are disco classics today really, really early. And then once I started getting allowance, getting summer jobs, blah, 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 just buying records on my own. So the journey has been with me since day one. But as far as my club existence, I made it into the garage when I was 16 years old.
Ah.
I got in the year it closed. It was a guy on my block who actually was he was part of a DJ crew called Laser Rock Disco. They used to do all the block parties in Crown Heights. Grew up on President Street and Franklin Avenue. So I grew up watching them, and he was a member of the garage. So he, you had to be a member to get in. Right. So he got me and my guys in that I used to roll with, and it changed my life. So that was like my introduction to club world, hearing Larry play. Right. And then, it's crazy. I got turned out, basically. Musically, it was over for me. Because like listening to WBLS and listening to like all these amazing records that are classics today being played on the radio, all I wanted to do was experience that in real life in a club with, people that lived it. So going there was like, entering the pearly gates of heaven or something like that. It was crazy. So, I started clubbing really early, late 80s, early 90s. And then I went away to college. And that's where I really started to get more into like DJing professionally. So from 89 to 94, I was doing a lot of college parties, a lot of fraternity, sorority, black fraternity, sorority parties. I would come home on the weekends, go to clubs, sometimes, you know, when I wasn't working. And that was it. I started getting into making records. Actually, so there's two sides to this whole thing. Like, I've also been dabbling in studio stuff since 1985, 86, because I always wanted to be part of a group, a hip hop group. So the hip hop side of me is a whole other thing. They kind of worked parallel, you know, as far as like being in a group and wanting to make records and learning the tricks of the trade around the studio. So when I graduated from school, I was like, I'm not getting a job. I'm gonna go straight into the music business. I cut a couple of records. I have a group called Jig Masters. We're still making records occasionally, but we started an independent label called Beyond Real, and you know, I delved really hard into underground hip hop world. You know, Raucous era, Party with the Maddox, J Live. You know, a whole bunch of people. I worked with Pharoah Monch. I did a couple of records with Eminem, Mos Def. Actually, was Mos Def's tour DJ for almost 2 years for the Black on Both Sides album. So that was an experience as well. So, you know, it's just got crazy. And then basically like by the late 90s, that's when I kind of started getting back into house music because I saw a big shift in hip hop and basically how, you know, I was doing a lot of mainstream hip hop parties, underground and some mainstream stuff like mid 90s to the late 90s. And I saw the shift where people would come to the club every week and wanted to hear the same things they heard on the radio. And that didn't really move me too much. You know what I'm saying? Like it became a thing where, you know, I come from an era where you could break records, you could experiment a little bit, you can take people on a journey,
Right.
and not have to succumb to playing the same records every week. And I think that was the beginning of where things are today. You know what I mean? With like these strict playlists, radio programming, club DJs, like, you know, mainstream club DJs having to play the same records to cater to what people. So I was like, you know what? I'm going back into the house world. And my introductory, you know, I had to go into the Shelter, you know, a few times in the early 90s, and I started going back again. They had a hiatus. I remember I went to I think mid 90s, I saw Grace Jones at the Shelter, so that was amazing. But they had a little hiatus, and they opened back up, and that's when I started going to Body and Soul and the Shelter. And Kenny Dope is actually, so I have a story. Kenny and I got really tight. He took me to Body and Soul for the first time. This was like 98. Never been there before. And, you know, he was my ride. He came to pick me up. We got there, we were hanging out, and we were drinking. All I know is by the end of the night, I was sauce. I was sauce money. I was tore up. The club was empty. Nobody was there. He was gone. And I ran to the bathroom. I threw up, came back. I think maybe Danny Crivet was left. Somebody was still there, one of the DJs. But I was like, I don't know what happened. Where am I? I'm toast. I'm stuck, drunk, out of my mind. Found out Kenny got drunk too, and he was driven home. And that was my first Body and Soul.
Got bodied at Body and Soul.
Well, you know, in the early days, Body and Soul would do it to you.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, kind of nutty. It's kind of nutty. So yeah, and then Miami Winter Music Conference. The first time I went was '98. Kenny introduced me to that too, and I just opened back up. You know, the house music world just captivated me, and that was it. You know, Days Like This came out, and that was the game changer record that really kind of solidified me in that world. Yeah. But truth be told, I was always into it. You know, as a DJ, I love the music. I love the freedom. It's a language. Spoken, understood by all, kind of. It's a body thing, it's a spiritual thing, etc., etc. You know, the music resonates with me. I love it. It is what it is.
Well, Spinna, I've got a question for you because that's good stuff right there. Someone named Kim Lightfoot Would like to know what was your
Mhm.
first Motown remix?
What's the like?
It was actually Michael Jackson. It was a Jackson 5 remix project for Japan. They put together this project. They had various DJs. I think actually Kenny Dope was on volume 1. They did a volume 2. So We're Almost There by Michael Jackson was like my first, and it was crazy. The fact that I even got a chance to put my hands on a Michael Jackson recording was just insane. And yeah, that was the first. And the second one was Eddie Kendrick, Keep on Trucking. That was the second one. Not too long after that.
Okay.
Hi, Kim. Actually, before we even go further, I just want to give Kim his props because I consider him a mentor as well. We've done a lot of parties together. I used to do these parties in Brooklyn every summer called Rubber Music around 4th of July, outdoors. Me and my wife, Keita, would put these events on. But as I was getting back into the house thing, Kim used to do this party with Trevor Fox downtown Brooklyn at the Bridge Street Loft. And the person who threw those parties was my guy, Charles Moore, who I watched DJing, who got me into the Paradise Garage when I was 16 years old. He was throwing these parties downtown Brooklyn, and Kim was the DJ. So he didn't know me then, but I was studying. I was watching. I was, train spotting all the records, going out to find the records that he was playing. So he gets the flowers for me right now. Like, that's my dude. Yeah.
Tim Lightfoot's good peoples. When I first entered the scene, like there was a list of DJs in Brooklyn that you had to be aware of in the underground. Kim Lightfoot, Kaleem Shabazz, Camacho,
Frozen.
Sanchez. Like, they were like people that like, oh, you gotta hear. Yo, they're playing at Ray Hands. You're gonna be at the backyard party. Yo, they gonna be there with Ray. Like Little Ray used to be somebody that like, like there were certain people that like, because I was the young head. I was like 18, 19.
Ryan.
Every time he gets to the pivotal.
Every time he gets to the juicy
Ryan.
Right? Like, wait, what?
He was 18, 19, and what happened? Every time he gets to the juicy parts, Brian,
they
freaking
drag
freezes.
events.
Well, look, we got the gist of all of that you just said. All those people were the best.
Yes.
Like you. Just like you. So I want to ask, I have one question here from Nerdish Tendency for Spinna. It says, how did you gravitate toward the space/galactic soul aesthetic as a producer, and how did that become so prominent in your sound and visual identity?
Good question. So I'm kind of spacey by nature anyway. People that are close to me kind of know that about me, and I think it just reflects in the music that I make. It always has, even with the hip hop stuff that I started doing, 25 years ago. If you listen to those records from like the mid 90s, the name of my label and production company is Beyond Real. So it's kind of like a hint to going beyond Earth, like traveling through space. And with the house thing, I just kind of migrated what I was doing with that genre into dance world and going even further with it, with synthesizers and keyboards. And I listen to a lot of ambient music, a lot of weird electronic music for inspiration. And it's just a culmination of just my brain and how it works and how I'm wired. And I know I can be a little out there sometimes the way I operate. So it's just part of my character. This is who I am.
Look, that makes for a good DJ.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I have more questions, but do you, Red?
I do not, but I have a question for Be Polite, which
Yes.
is, it's a very simple question, Be Polite, because I can remember myself the beginning of Afro Mosaic. So, did you guys travel at all?
Not very far. Um, most of the stuff. So we've done a couple of shows in Boston.
Mhm.
With Uhuru Africa, we traveled out there with Libation. You know, shout out to Manshaw Black. Like, happy birthday to Monster Black, by the way.
Oh,
Um,
yes, it is his birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Monster. We love you.
We love you. And
Yeah, and he's up.
I'm in host parties. It was like work and play at the same time. And then the first one of the early Mikasas, I wasn't there for it because I had to work that weekend. But the Afro Mosaic Soul actually performed in Mexico for one of the early Mikasas. I think the first one actually. So in terms of like traveling as a unit, that's kind of where we've ended up.
all right.
Okay, sweet. Sin, questions? I've changed locations.
So I have a question.
That is saying I'm acting up, so I'm plugging in.
Both Spinna and Brian, that is from Voyeur 77, that says, where do you see the music scene going post-pandemic, and how will the scene be fast-forwarded to enhance the experience? Where do you see the scene going?
Well, I would hope that the scene would get better as far as music programming, and because I think we're living in a critical time right now, even social, politically. A lot of things that people kind of celebrated pre-COVID is not really that important anymore. And music has always reflected the time. So I'm hoping that when things turn, I mean, we're really seeing in real life, like, how important the DJ has become. You know, how we're just providing all this therapy, healing. So I would hope and think that when this flips, it's going to affect the nightlife as well. You know, a lot of businesses, a lot of clubs are suffering right now. And I think when things open back up, in order to survive, it's going to really be a matter of how good the programming is and how good the music is. People are going to be starving for it anyway. So it's just a matter of how do you get things back into shape, put things back in place, reestablishing what it's really about. Because for a while, things were out of whack, you know. I mean, you know, the DJs that are being cherished right now, the ones providing this amazing soundtrack. There's so many good DJs playing great music, and it's necessary because everybody's stuck at home. They can't go out, can't celebrate it in the venues. But I don't want to do all the talking. What do you think about that as a dancer, especially?
I mean, wow. From a dancer standpoint, so I'm going to take it from an underground head perspective, and I'll say that more than ever, people are realizing how much they need this in their souls, need this. From the DJs to the dancers, I think that when things do open back up, is going to be a hard start, because a lot of venues are going to want guarantees. They're going to want certain things that they think are going to work with no, you know, like, oh, well, I know this is going to be a big hit. But I think that because there's a certain strength in numbers and certain strength of spirit that a lot of the underground club scenes in the just left of center, you know, DJs and club goers have, that people are going to, they're going to want to see people gather and be happy. A lot of the antics that people associate with going out, not everybody's going to really be in the mood for that. And also, I think you're going to find a lot of folks when they go out, they're looking for something more. And a lot of the DJs online have started cultivating new followers that haven't made it to any of their parties. You know, like I stay in the chat on a lot of Spinna's parties.
Just like that.
Soul on the horn. When you guys reopen, I'm there, first person in the line, because I kept saying I was going to go, but I fronted. Now I want to see it live because this is amazing, and there's so much love in the chat, and it's like people are seeing the community around the various DJs. You know, like when you see Ian Friday set on IG, like it's not just people being like, "Oh, I like this record." It's like, I'm happy to be here. All my friends are here in the chat too. Everybody's cutting up and throwing jokes back and forth and saying hi to everybody and checking in on each other. And when you come into that as an outsider, it's like, oh, this is not like any DJ following that I'm used to. This is not like any club. So you guys are like this in real life. This is, you know, like, so I think people are going to be seeking that out. And it's really a matter of finding the venues that are conducive to these places replanting themselves. You know, like, you got the plant, and then you've had to like put it in a pot and move it somewhere because wherever you had it stationed in the park isn't safe right now. But when the park reopens and you're about to like replant it, it's just finding the right soil for it to, you know, to be placed in, and then it will start growing again. I'd like to be, or at least I need to be optimistic about it, because, you know, it's my life. Yeah.
This is ultimately, I feel, a big reset button on so many levels.
So many.
Yeah.
The reset button.
Absolutely. And what you said brings me actually to a question that I have here for you, Spinna, as well, from Beatrice. She asks, like, when you're playing virtually, you know, do you still feel the energy, or how is it that you get the energy from the folks? Because, like, you know, it's a big part of what DJs experience, right? So how is it that you're getting that energy from either the chat or in a, like, you know, do you still feel that?
Well, for me, the chat room is important because obviously I don't have bodies in front of me to, you know, get that energy. But when I see reaction from records that I'm playing, and even a reaction amongst the people in the chat with each other, and how they, you know, it kind of reinstates to me that there's a community being built. Like, I know that there's new relationships that have been established in these chat rooms, which is pretty much what would happen in real life in a club, you know, especially with residencies and people coming out every week to see each other. That's how communities are built. But for me as a DJ, I play music always from the soul, from the heart. You know, it's always it's a real deep thing for me. It's a real spiritual thing for me. So I program records, like I make a conscious effort to not repeat records. If I repeat something, it's intentional because I'm trying to break it the same way, you know, our traditional greats in the club have broken records by kind of playing things every week and making you crave for it. But I'm excited. Like, I'm literally excited to play these records, every week. Like, I start packing and pulling things in my brain first, and then as the days progress before Sunday, I'm like going through stuff. I'm playing things. I'm you know, my record collection is crazy, so I have a lot of stuff that I would buy and just tuck, never listen to, and now I feel like this pandemic is actually somewhat of a blessing because now I can basically go back in and pull things and, you know, remind myself why I spent money all these years on all this stuff, and find creative ways to present it to the audience. Just having fun, you know. This is good. This is good for me. It's good for the people, and, you know, it's necessary. I'm just having a ball with it. I love it, and that's why I can't stop playing. I never meant to. Hey, Journey fam, I never meant to be 6 hours every week. Like, I come in, I get amped, I get excited, and I can't stop. Like, I'm having so much fun. but I love it. You know, I just love the music. I'm passionate about it. What can I say?
We love it.
We do too. Yes,
We love
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I have
we're-
you know, just in case they cut us off, which they have not cut us off yet, but just in case they cut us off, I would love for you guys to just briefly tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now and where people can find you. I know you have things coming up, so please just give us a little breakdown of what you're doing.
Brian,
Whoever start.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, wow. Now I get to go first. I'm surprised. So the most immediate thing is tomorrow, 5:30. The link is not in my bio because I don't know how to run the Instagram thing. But cut the rug, cut with a K _ rug on Instagram. It's cut the rug.
Pivotal.
We think tank. Yeah, cut with the K, Cut the Rug Institute. We formed a think tank around street dance, and our first event is going to be tomorrow, 5:30, in conjunction with Q Arts Foundation. So the link, you can link RSVP, and then you'll get the Zoom thing for it. And it's a number of scholars, dancers, so Dr. Imadi Kai, Dr. Shamel Bell, then Cricket, those of you who know Cricket's going to be involved in it. Shireen Shireen's going to be involved. It's like we have a number of people all involved in it. Dr. Noah B. Bragan, so it's like we got just, scholars, dancers, all talking about street dance as resistance. So that's going to be, that's put together by Cut the Rug Institute, and that's tomorrow afternoon. And Cut the Rug.
Tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to post it in my stories.
Right.
To share Brian's
But yeah,
new
that's the next
platform
big
that's starting tomorrow.
Yes, that's tomorrow. Yeah.
All right. Spinna, what you got coming? What you got going?
Tomorrow I'm doing the Soul Clap guys. They do this thing they have a channel called Lost Resort on Twitch, which is a commentary just speaking about, DJ culture and political stuff and, just a well-rounded conversation with DJs. And I'm doing that at 2 p.m. on their Twitch channel. I'll post the stuff on my social media tonight. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Thursday, I think I'm going to resume my Galactic Quiet Storm, which is, the slow jam set. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern.
You're going to play a slow jam set?
Oh, I've been doing them.
Well, I know I've heard some of it, but I'm just saying you're officially going to play a slow jam set for some. Go on. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, I've been doing these sets called Galactic Quiet Storm. They started off as part of Journey,
because I heard it in Journey. That's why I'm asking. Okay,
yeah. So this will be session number 4, Galactic Quiet Storm. I did 3 already, 2 or 3. So that's Thursday, 7 p.m. That's a blast. Friday, today is hip hop's birthday. I'm gonna do a hip hop set Friday. Didn't announce it yet, but haven't done one in a while.
And you heard it here first.
Right.
I gotta do it Friday night. And then Sunday, back to Journey, 3 p.m. EST, back to Journey. And for those, tuning in who don't know about Journey, it's a weekly thing I've been doing since quarantine started. And I'm just going nuts here. Playing music. Good. A lot of dance music, but, I try to, in the beginning, I might play some rare grooves, some jazz, some Latin, some Brazilian, some Afro, but then it goes into classic New York disco boogie kind of vibes, then into house, and then I usually wind it down. But you definitely get a sense of classic New York vibes. I'm trying to,
It's real nice because every time I tune in, I'm here talking to you where you can't hear me. And I'm like, really, Spinna? I'm trying to get off and let me go make something. It's Sunday. Let me go cook. And then I'm like, really, Spinna? Really? like, you know, I'm there seeing Little Ray like posting. I'm like, I'm gonna pour a drink with Ray now. We're gonna keep listening to Spinna. Like, yeah, we get caught up in it, and
Thank
that's
you.
at home, so that's nice.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, Brian Polite, I have a question for you.
Ask.
As a dancer in this city, what has been your favorite dance floor?
Favorite dance floor?
Yes, because you dance and you know, that's a thing. People take it for
Not a
granted.
concrete one. That would be my answer.
No. I have to say Shelter 39th Street.
Oh, sweet.
That floor was really, really, really nice. And then for just like a random floor you would never think of, Martinez Gallery. The parties at Martinez Gallery.
Okay, that is a place I can't say I know.
What would you say, Spinna, then would have been your favorite
Floors.
party that you ever rocked, your favorite night?
My favorite night? Oh, man. Woo-wee. It's probably going to have to be one of the Stevie Wonder parties, one of the wonderful parties.
Wonderful.
Yeah, one of the wonderful parties, probably 39th Street, when Stevie called in for the first time. That was, the floor was caving in that night, literally caving in.
Huh.
Felt the floor.
Right.
And Stevie called, and his son Mandla was born. He got on the mic and spoke to the audience and told everyone he had just spoken to Nelson Mandela, and Mandela named his son. His wife had just given birth. And he said all of this on the mic. You can hear a pin drop in the club. You know, I put the microphone, I put the mic to the cell phone. Aisha, his daughter. And that was, shout out to Bobito too. We used to do the parties together, spinning. But that was an amazing, I think that might have captivated me more than when he actually showed up.
I was there when he showed up.
Oh, in Manhattan Center?
Yes. I was about to leave, and you told me you said, Red, don't go anywhere. Just hold on. But you didn't say
Was
bye, and I was like, what? Okay.
No. You know what? I think that was Rebel, because Manhattan Center, I didn't
It
know.
was Rebel. It was Rebel.
I didn't know he was coming.
It was Rebel, because I was dancing in the cage. That's what I remember. I was dancing in the cage, and I was like, okay, it's time to go home. And you were like, don't go anywhere, but you didn't say why. And I was like, well, I never got that from Spinna before. I'll hang around. Let's see what happens here.
We were waiting. It was after his concert at Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
He purposely planned it as an after party, but he almost didn't come.
I was like, wow.
Almost didn't come. Like Mark James, if you're out there, that's, you know, he's a relative, family, and I had him play with us that night, me and Bob, and he actually had to call him, like, get your butt over here, like, we're waiting for you. What are you doing? And he showed up at like 4 a.m.
Yes.
It's like,
yeah, that was
those who left were pissed off, and those who remained was like, they couldn't believe. I couldn't believe it. It was crazy. That was the first time. That was the first time he showed up.
Yeah, I froze up. I was there for that. I froze up. I was standing like maybe 12 feet away from him and froze up because like everybody else was going up to him like, hey, Stevie, I froze up. And then after that moment, I was like, if I ever get a chance to talk to Stevie Wonder again, I'll be ready. I'm going to have a whole thing ready to say to him. I'm not going to freeze up. I'm going to go up to him and be like, thank you. Everything that I've ever done creatively in my life has been inspired by you.
Didn't you meet him?
Yes, because of you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Was that what place?
Afro Mosaic in New Jersey.
Oh, New Jersey. Prudential.
Yeah, the Financial. Yeah, because we went there as a anniversary party for Afro Mosaic. It was in October, and we were like, we got to do an anniversary thing, so whole crew get together. We got to go see Stevie, and basically, as everybody's checking their phones, they're like, yo, Spinna's here. Yo, Manchild's here. Yo. And then we get this, it's like, Spinna's telling us, don't leave yet. Okay, he said, come to at the end of the night, go to the corner, go to the front, the front near the stage, as close as you can get.
Roseanne.
All right, I can tell you he was going to say, okay,
In the
let
way
me get up there. I don't know why, but I'm going.
Right, no, just, you don't ask no questions. It's like,
You know what?
When the guys responsible for the group existed, he'd tell you do something, just shut up and
Do
follow
it.
direction.
Listen, I
told him.
have a story I want to tell before IG cuts off.
You got time. There's no rush. Go on.
Okay. So today is Kenny Gamble of legendary duo Gamble and Huff songwriting team's birthday. It's his birthday today. And I have an incredible Kenny Gamble story. So Love Is the Message is my all-time favorite track of all time. MFSB, Love Is the Message. I had to do this Red Bull couch session in Washington, D.C. at headquarters years ago. And they told me, just bring a couple of records that are important to you, that you want to talk about. And I said, cool. So I packed 2 records, my Serato plates and Love Is the Message. Those were the only records I had in my bag. Got on the Amtrak train, riding down to DC, get off the train, go to the exit, and you would never, in a million years, believe what I'm about to tell you, but Kenny Gamble was waiting for a limo to come pick him up, and I had Love Is the Message in my bag.
Wow.
So wait, so go on.
Love Is the Message is in my bag with my Serato records, and I see Kenny Gamble, and I was like, this is not happening right now.
Serendipity.
It's really happening right now. And I had a Sharpie. So I went up to him.
Oh, wow.
I was like, hello, Mr. Gamble. It's a pleasure to meet you. Honor, a pleasure. I don't want to disturb you, but I have a record in my bag that I would really love for you to sign. And I took it out, and he looked at it, and he was like, oh, wow, the record that started it all. And he signed it back.
Wow.
And that's it. And it's just crazy because
Is it hanging on your wall?
it's not, and I need to put it in a frame.
Yes.
I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna post it on my IG probably this Thursday. I'm gonna dig it out and post it. But the reason why I brought that record is because that's one of those songs that kind of spoke to different audiences. You know, it's a loft record.
Absolutely.
I went to David Mancuso's service, and that record was playing at his send-off.
Yes.
It's also a hip hop record to some degree.
Yeah.
The Park Jam DJ used to cut that record up, and people used to rap on top of the break. It's a big disco classic record. It's a roller skating record. It just speaks to so many different walks of life. It's an anthem. It's also called a Brooklyn anthem, even though it's a Philly record. So that was the reason why I had it in my bag, because I wanted to explain during this Red Bull thing how important and how relevant that record is to my life and to so many other people's lives. And, you know, that Kenny Gamble thing, I still, to this day, I'm like, it's unbelievable. So happy birthday, Kenny Gamble. Today is his actual birthday.
Wow.
Happy birthday. That's
a great
awesome.
story.
That is awesome.
Be polite. You got a story you want to tell?
Tracy Fortune keeps trying to say, Spinna, tell him how much you love disco. Tell him how you love disco. Tell him you're a disco fiend. Tell him, Spinna. Tell him you're a disco fiend, Spinna.
Let me just say, we want Tracy here to tell a bedtime story, but we purposely did not ask her to be with you because we already know. Right. So go on. Tell them how much you love disco.
I'm a disco head, man. I mean, I have a vivid memory of my father taking me to a record store. I want to say it was Bondi's or some record store from the 70s and buying Crown Heights Affair, which is where I'm actually from, Crown Heights in Brooklyn, Dreaming a Dream, 12-inch, and taking it home, cracking it open and playing it as a kid. Like, I have a lot of Atmosphere Strut, My Love is Free, a lot of Salsa Orchestra, The Tramps, all of these records were played. And plus, my dad at some point owned a bar in Brooklyn, a small bar. And I think he took me there as a kid. I'm sure I wasn't supposed to be there, but I had all of these instances where I was just surrounded by this culture, you know, which would evolve into DJ culture and nightlife. I was kind of raised up in it. But the music has always been, I've been surrounded by this stuff. And I was playing these 45s as a kid, you know, El Coco, Let's Get It Together, Dance, 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 Hot Shot. I mean, I had all of these records as 45s, as 7-inches as a little kid, playing them in the crib on little Fisher Price show and tells and Mickey Mouse record players. Like, that's what I like.
Gosh, yes.
That's why I got 3 turntables. Because, you know, it's just who I am. It's part of me. So Tracy, yes.
I don't sound like that. He was like, I don't sound like that, Sen. Be polite. I have a question for you.
Ask away.
You've had the honor to be such a wonderful spirit, to be able to be like align yourself with so many wonderful and great people, and to be, you know, to work with people or to have done different projects with different people. Is there somebody that is on like your wish list of like, yo, I would really love to do something with this person because of whatever?
Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder, right?
Pivotal.
Stevie Wonder. Always.
Wonder.
The answer is Stevie Wonder. The answer is always Stevie Wonder. Yes. Top of the list will always be Stevie Wonder.
All right, who's number 2?
Like, you know, I never thought beyond Stevie Wonder.
And as he's talking, I'm like, Spinna, can
you know,
to me?
I mean,
Like, Stevie Wonder.
Right. See, the weird thing is that most of my favorite artists that are living, as I get older, a lot of them start being like folks that I know. So like the people whose music I enjoy, like they're the homies, you know. It's like, you know, who else in the world? I mean, it'd be fly to do something with Jizza from Wu-Tang.
Wow.
Just like during the little period where I used to rap, he was one of my favorite MCs. You know, just because coming from poetry or doing something with Yasin Bey, most that like in terms of like 2 writers who really influenced my style and my aesthetic in terms of hip hop, I would say them. If it's dance, I don't know who I had. I mean, most of the people I could think of that I want to work with are mostly people who I know directly already. So just, you know, like most of the guys from Elite Force and Mop Tops, I was a kid watching videos, latchkey kid coming home from school, watching them in videos in 88 and 89.
Right.
You know, now I get to kick it with them. Like, I already feel like I won. You know, like, you know, with the people you admire, you know, you're on the side, you know, chopping it up with, you know, at a party. You know, so like my list is actually kind of small. Most of the people that I'm working with now are folks that I've wanted to work with. You know, Afro Mosaic is the family. You know, Ashe, you know, is the family. Like, I'm honored to be in the circles with them. I guess if I would say that like a dream project, I would love to do, I don't know how we're going to do this until this COVID thing is over. I would love to do a dance video that incorporates all the generations of club and house dancers, like dancers from the loft, you know, dance fusion, Mawu, Afro Mosaic Soul, like the young heads, like Crazy Natives, like, you know, like 4 or 5 generations of club dancers all in one video just as a show of strength. Like that, I think that is something that we have yet to see.
That would be dope.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first.
I'll go and do
2022. Let's give it a little time. Stevie Wonder featuring Be Polite, produced by DJ Spinna, and the video is gonna have everything that Be Polite just said, featuring Red and Sin in the background dancing, and just hold on, it's coming. It's coming, and you heard it here first. Happening live.
About almost when I think was it a time to love with when that album came out. Originally, when they were trying to cast for the video, the people who were casting for the video went through to the Ubiquita party. This is like, right. And so they saw, and it was like, DJ Reborn, DJ Selly, Deshaun and Kim, that was their party that they'd put together, Kim Knox. And, and this is before we were Afro Mosaic Soul, we would just go to that party. That was like where we were hanging out, us and all our friends all the time. And
Guernica?
Huh? Guernica, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Because we'd get there early for Mia. So like, Mia Phillips used to do the opening set, and she would play like mad down tempo and like loft records and jazz, and we would warm up, and then when the main party started, we were already loose. The casting people saw us dancing and wanted to get some of us out there, but they were like, oh, but we're going to be filming in California. And this is Motown during like, the early 2000s. And I'm going to say it because I don't know if I'll ever really work for Motown, so I guess I don't really care. But supposedly there was no budget to fly any of us out there. So because there was no budget, basically it was like, yeah, you guys do it, but you'd have to fly yourselves. And, so none of us had any money. So yeah, so that ended up not happening. But, had Motown had a budget, we would have been, somewhere in the background moving in slow motion.
Man, that would have been dope. That would have been so dope. You never told me about this. I didn't know.
It was a thing that was like, they were trying to make it happen, but it's just, there was no budget to get anybody out there. They're like, oh, we like the vibe and the dancing and the vibrancy and,
cheapskates.
They realized that what you actually were doing was giving a real feeling, and they didn't want to pay for that feeling. A lot of times, unfortunately,
of course,
that shit is
welcome
like
to house
something
music.
that you just get,
But it's also a thing with the underground. I feel like it's either too raw for the room a lot of times. Like it can't be controlled. So you can put it in a place, but you can't really control what it's going to do, because it's by design, it will do its own thing. Right. And then also, like me and a couple of folks have talked about this, where like the underground kind of has like it's like a circuit breaker, where something gets too mainstream, the circuit breaker goes off, and all of a sudden we disavow it. Like, oh, that's not us. No, we don't know who that is. Now that's not really official anymore. It's almost like if it goes too far outside of the underground, like it doesn't allow for things to cross over too much, almost. Like it's like an attitude almost, where if it feels like it's straying too far, then everybody's kind of like, well, we don't know if we could trust it, because now it's over there and it's got all these other people who don't understand it the way we understand it, or just here because they heard it was something dope and they're trying to take selfies in the party, but they don't really love what's happening. You've seen it happen with Spinna's, actually, with the Spinna's Michael Jackson Prince parties. Yeah. Remember, there was one that happened where, the dancers normally have like a little corner that we kind of eke out. Like we get a little space and we lock it down so that this is our spot.
Okay, this is it.
Like if you ain't dancing, don't be on it.
Right, don't come in this corner.
Right.
And the thing is, there were these girls that came in, and they came in short skirts, like all fancied up, crazy nails, hair done, like the shoes, everything's like pow pow pow, and like we were just like, what y'all over in this corner for? And they just had this look like they weren't having fun, like everybody's dancing, and they're just looking there, just like, looking like whatever. I
Our
can't remember
scene.
what song it was you were playing, Spinner, but it was one of like the Michael Jackson B-sides.
You know, it's pretty much speaking to the times and how, I mean, gentrification. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say it.
But what happened? You mixed into Thriller, and all of a sudden they start jumping around. Their phones come on, and they're like, woo, woo, all in the phone for like 30 seconds for Instagram, and then turn the phones off. And before you mixed out of the song, because I know you like Thriller rock for a minute.
Yeah.
Before like the second chorus came in, phones are off, they're out.
Yeah.
So they basically came through, rock for a photo op, and it dipped.
I think a lot of times what happens, what's been happening over time, not just in New York, but in other places too, where the party's been happening, people, it's hype. It's a hype train. Like people find out about it. Oh, I heard about this cool Michael Jackson Prince party. Let's go. But a lot of times they don't know anything past the top 10 hits, you know, on both sides. So when you're going too deep, they just don't really get it. You know, they're not experienced with the music, and you know, you do have some that come out and want to learn, and they absorb, and they catch a vibration, and they'll just hang out and stay for the long haul because they want to experience what it's really about. But then you have those that they're just like stragglers.
Stragglers is a good
Just
word.
trying to find something to do on a Saturday night. They heard about the party. They come in and it's not really what they thought it would be because it's real, and they're just there for the moment and they leave. And it's happening not just with that particular party. It's part of the new scene, the new nightlife scene that has developed in the past 5 to 10 years. You know.
It was the result of like, I think that like door shade and all of that stuff stopped because of bottle service, right? And so when that stopped, it just changed the entire dynamic of what was, the part of like access to this cool space, right? So when you have these new people that don't necessarily like, they're just getting access because they know that this is the cool space, but they're not necessarily the cool kids.
Correct.
And it's trickling down to promoters and venue owners and all of that. So, and you guys promote as well, so you understand how crazy it is to get up in venues sometimes, and they want guarantees, and it's all about the bar. And dancers, we're never known to drink. We got to cut loose. It's not about alcohol. The best clubs that we've ever seen didn't have alcohol served like that, so it's where we are. It's, what do we do? But I think going back to the question you asked earlier, I'm hoping that somehow there can be a middle ground met, because again, we're seeing how important the music actually is and how it changes people's lives. And, we're in that moment right now where we're seeing how important it is. So
yeah,
let's see what happens.
And it's not only change people's lives at this point, it's save people's lives, because this whole thing, there was there's a lot of depression, there's a lot of whatever, and the music has kept us at least on the minimal of being social and saying, oh, there's so-and-so that I would see in the party, and talking to them. And on what you guys were speaking of, I think part of that whole thing, like you were talking about Be Polite with the girls, is because we had to move into clubs outside of our underground scene, there were people that came with the club who just come to the club, and they don't even know who Spinna is. They just know, oh, I'm going to this club and I'm going to take pictures and I'm going to have drinks and I'm going to do all this, but they don't really care about the culture of where they are. Yeah. And that just, again, kind of is what it is.
Well, at the core, it's the music. They don't care about, like, and that's at the essence, even if you want to get bottle service all night long, whatever, the core of it becomes the music. And really it's just that the music is I hate saying this devalued, but it's like people only value music as much as they can be associated with it for props, or as the young folks say, clout chasing, you know. But like, so is but that's basically it, you know. So then, you know, the love for the music means that regardless of who or what, this my song is on, I'm up, I'm on the floor, you know. Or I don't even know what this is right now. I never heard of this before, but it sounds dope to me, and now I'm all about this song. And if I can't Shazam it, I'll just memorize it and try to find it later. You know, like that sort of sentiment where the music drives the emotion. And a lot of times it's more that people aren't driven by the love of music, like how it personally hits them. It's more like they're driven by the hype associated with something. So somebody's telling them, like, this is the hype thing you got to get on. Folks are running for it because they don't want to be the last one on the block with it.
Right. Yeah. This is opening up a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, go.
It's true. And we're actually
Cynthia's frozen.
on IG, but all stuff will be added on to the archives, which is wonderful.
Spin Rose and Redness says Bedtime Stories on the YouTube is where you'll find all this if you missed anything.
Stories.
But on that note, before we check out, just very quickly, be polite. I asked you earlier and we got into another conversation. Did you have any story that you wanted to share?
Any story?
No pressure.
Yeah. I mean, the Stevie Wonder thing, those were kind of like most of my.
So
I'll say there's one story. I don't know if it's a brief one. It was just kind of strange. It was another libation event in New Jersey. Like Ian was playing somewhere in New Jersey. I don't know where it is, like, but it was somewhere we drove all the way out to New Jersey for. You know, so like minivan full of the whole crew out to New Jersey. And it's Halloween night. And, you know, Halloween night is different in New York. So coming back from the gig, you know, the gig ended fairly early, you know, so like, you know, we're driving back because we're like not trying to be outside on Halloween. We don't have to be. And looking for stuff to listen to on the radio. And it's like, oh yeah, it's Greg Tate and, you know, Burnt Sugar doing a live set. You know, Greg Tate's like a scholar, musician, does like abstract, you know, experimental music, funk, soul, jazz, like a whole mixture of stuff. And so we're like, oh, Greg Tate, that's the people. So you put it on, we'll listen to it on the way back. That became the soundtrack for just a bizarre night of trying to get, it felt like the Warriors, and Burnt Sugar was the soundtrack for it. So you imagine like abstract jazz funk playing while you're stuck in traffic, and then you look over in the car and you're like, what are they doing in that car? Look over and, you know, you get a couple more blocks, you look over the corner and somebody's in a costume and they're bugging out on the corner, and, you know, it is somebody sitting on the curb screaming their face off while a bunch of people are laughing. It's like just the most bizarre, and it felt like the music shifted through every part of the city that we got to. So while it was like, you know, the highway in New Jersey, and it's like, you know, eerie, and we're kind of going down like these side roads, music's mad abstract and atmospheric. Then we get onto the highway, and then it's just like all this activity, and music starts picking up. Then we get to the city, it just turns into pure chaos. And it was just like the oddest thing. And I don't know if that's a good story or not.
That's a great story. And I want you to know that Mr. Scott Wiley is like, that was a great night. That it was right. Yeah.
Yeah. But it also put us on the idea that we were like, hey, one of these days we should work with Burnt Sugar. That'd be awesome. And then we ended up working with Burnt Sugar. And it was awesome.
Of course you did.
We did a show with them at Brick. It was a operetta that was put together based around the Brer Rabbit stories by an artist, Aisha Cousins, that put it together. And Burnt Sugar provided the music. She did a whole like Afrofuturistic story about gentrification. And so, you know, Greg Tate and Burnt Sugar did all the music for it and had all the vocalists come in to sing and do all the parts. And the Afro Mosaic Soul were like the dancers for all the different scenes. So we were like the background people, and then we become the people walking through the town, and then do a dance scene. And then, you know, so, and we did another show with them at Greenwood Cemetery, and then another one at, where was it? At, not SOBs, at another location. Scotty probably remembers it. Unfortunately, right now I do not. But yeah, but we ended up working with them like maybe even a year later. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. So I
Spin,
have one last question, maybe it'll be the last question, which is for Spinna. Not to get all heavy or anything, but I'm really curious myself. When the whole Michael Jackson controversy happened with, you know, what they said and all this stuff, was there ever a time where you had to, or you chose to reconsider Michael Jackson as one of your featured artists, or were you just like, nope, the music is the music?
I was on Michael's side the whole time.
Okay.
Music, the love for the music was, I felt like a part of me was being chewed up along with everyone else who was trying to drag him down. I took it personal. I took it personal. I was like, nah, F that. F that.
You and I went to that party, right? The one right after all of that stuff.
After, and it was
fantastic in Brooklyn, and we were having a great time, and Spinna was like, I don't care. Here we go. You love it, I love it.
Yep. And this is not to shame people who have gone through, you know, any kind of abuse or anything like that. But in this situation, I just didn't.
Just the music was the music. The music.
The music is the music, but I also just like, nah, this doesn't seem right. Something's not right. You know,
yeah.
I wasn't trying to hear it. It just didn't feel right.
I think that historically, like we as you know, people that have been undergone you know, discrimination and racism, and understand that like political and social entities exist that are not necessarily designed to like, you know, take care of us, and that it may actually be designed to sabotage us. I think that like, so for us, it's easy for us to be forgiving in certain instances, or to understand that maybe this is not the entire story, right? Whereas, you know, sometimes that's not the case.
And at the end of the day, you can't erase history. Like,
right.
One way or the other, the music happened. You know, it's just like other figures that have had something like that go down, and their name kind of put out there with whatever. You can't erase certain things that happen. You know what I mean? Right. The history is like, I mean, I'm not going to compare the two, but it's my best example is like the Cosby Show itself happened. And when it happened, we as a people, we felt proud. We felt like, yeah, this represents a whole nother set of us that the public, the people who are not us don't realize, like, yeah, we're doctors, we're lawyers, we're this, we're that. And so you can't just erase the history. Kind of, I don't want to say regardless, but it's kind of regardless, it happened. The music happened.
Well, one thing is for sure, people are not perfect, people are flawed.
Right.
You know, people do have their issues, and people are human, people make mistakes. Yeah, history cannot be erased. It can't.
And that's it. That's all we can say on that. That's all we can say on that, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I have one more question for you, Spinna, and it's the question that I asked Brian. If there was a dream person that you could work with, who would that be?
Sade.
Ooh.
Wait, what? Wait, what?
A dream person that he could work with.
Oh, wow, Sade.
Sade. Sade and Janet.
You heard it here first, people.
Sade and Janet.
22, DJ Spinna.
I'm putting it in the atmosphere in the universe.
Sade and Janet.
It's gonna come.
Sade and Janet.
It's gonna
Let me
come.
tell you now, I'm taking your dream and, putting my own twist on it, because if they can be together.
That's what I was thinking.
Oh,
Honestly,
my gosh.
as soon as I said it, I was like, this
That's
is
your, Spinna, you got Prince and Michael Jackson.
Jackson.
Consider some ladies. Well, see, I don't know if Sade made enough music for you to do that many parties featuring Sade. But Sade and Janet, you could at least do one or two. Oh my God.
I've done a Sade night
Dude.
before.
Like,
I've done.
well, Sade and
That's a
Janet
nice catalog.
making love. I'm not a DJ. I can't do all that, but dude, that's great.
Right. Making love.
Making love.
Look,
That
it
made
makes
me happy.
grown folks' business.
Well, you know what? On that piece, before we do sign off, be polite. If you were able to program Spinna to put two artists together like Michael Jackson and Prince, who would your two artists be?
I don't know if I would. I mean, honestly, the DJs that I like, that I follow, like, part of it is I trust them to just kind of do the thing. And, I don't know. I don't know what I would.
Well, if you could have a friendly versus party, who would you have?
Like a party or a song or
Spinna does Prince and Michael Jackson. And
wow.
he's doing a versus, but it's a friendly. He's putting them. He's like just star status, music status, and I can say to myself, I've listened and I've been to enough to be like, there's never like, oh, it's Michael, or oh, it's Prince. It's like, oh man, these
right.
two here.
It's like, oh, this song.
You could do that yourself.
Well, also because the two of them
DJ play that off for you.
Like they've always historically been rivals. So the thing is trying to figure out like who's got a deep enough crate of music that have historically been considered rivals to each other sonically and kind of like occupy flip sides of the same coin. Man, you know what I'd want to hear more of again? Because it's been a long time since it's happened. The Fela versus James Brown party with Spinna and Rich Medina.
That's
like,
a good one.
That was you talk about like a knockdown, drag out party, walking out like you look like you got hosed. You so sweaty.
I'm just sweating like that.
That party was special.
Yeah. But that was one where, because just even the range of it, and you see just how interconnected and influenced by each other. Like you hear the sound in conversation, and it'd be nice to have another one of those again.
So
yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We'll plan it.
Yeah, since we didn't have a little Rip Shack boat ride this year, we should plan it anyway.
That's like now too.
It would have been now. It would have been now. Yeah.
I work on my issue.
In this digital age we're in, it's really not that hard.
No, it's not.
We can make it happen.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's really not. It's actually easier than
I'm on it.
Live party, so.
I'm on it. I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna talk to the powers that be. So
I'm right here. I got some things to say.
Because you're amongst the powers that be. You'll be hearing from me again, Spinna, because you're amongst the powers that be.
Just don't hit them up Sunday.
All right, okay.
Remember,
I don't usually hit people up on Sunday anyway because I have funk box and I be all over the fucking place.
And getting Bobito to DJ might be a feat.
He's actually been DJing though. He's been
Really?
playing a stretch. Yes, he has. Every week on Mondays, they're playing. Him and Stretch
Bubble, can you hear me?
Trust me, I've heard him.
And they're not just talking. He's
No,
DJing.
they're doing sets, and then they come back, and then they do the jokes. Your socks stink, all that. But it starts off with them playing sets.
Hey, I gotta check that out.
Yes, they do.
Shout out to Stretch and Bob. Yeah.
They do.
Sound like someone got in trouble.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. It's happening.
But I did have a question for you, and I lost it that quickly. It's smoking.
What is the weight of a what is the average airspeed of an unladen swallow?
No, okay, I know what it was. So what I was gonna say is like, Spinna had mentioned it earlier about the different types of DJs that there are, including those DJs that like take you through a journey, right? Which is my favorite kind of DJ, right? So I love my favorite DJs are those that will take you on a musical journey. What, because there's all kinds. There's the ones that'll play like 30 seconds of the hottest point of the record and do that. That
We
shit
don't
drives me
recognize
crazy,
that.
right?
That's blasphemy.
That's the least favorite that I have, right? My most favorite are those that take you through a journey. What is your like favorite kind of sound from a DJ or from
journey based? Like for me, the DJ is journey based. So when I started going out to when I got introduced to the underground scene, closing it maybe 24 years ago, almost 25. A lot of the folks that I was being taken around to different spots to and from were folks that used to go to The Choice. And through them, I met people who went to the Garage and Loft, especially like going out to Coney Island, like when Purnell and Preston used to be out there, like before it got really, really big, when it was strictly underground, like watching, Purnell put on random records, like random new wave records, and people go crazy and be like, oh, what's this? Oh, this is Talking Heads. This is Talking Heads. But for me, that journey and the unexpected delight that comes out of it, and how it just kind of takes you through a period of time, where it takes you from like beginning, middle, and end. I love that narrative. And I've come to understand that that's a tradition in terms of like club DJs and house DJs, coming out of like, the tradition, David Mancuso, coming out of the tradition with Nicky Siano, coming out of the tradition, Larry Levan, Frankie Knuckles, like they all took elements of that same idea and then put their own twist to it. And everybody else that have become my favorite DJs all kind of spin out of that tradition. Right. And so for me, that's the best of the DJ that reads the crowd and basically says, okay, this is where you need to go next. Right. And it creates a level of trust. So that's why I don't, like, even like for my birthday at Libation, someone asked me what song I wanted to hear. And I just, even for my birthday, I didn't want to make a request because I trust the DJs that I like. I trust enough that they're going to like do right by the crowd. They're going to give us what we need. So even though it might be what I want, like I might want, Funkanova, but maybe what the crowd needs is, Crown Heights Affair, Say a Prayer for Two. That's what the crowd needs. So what I want is fly, the song's hot, but what the crowd needs in that moment is what the crowd needs. And the DJs that I gravitate towards are those type of DJs. They care for the crowd. Yeah. The 50-second, 30-second in and out DJ, that's like crack baby stuff.
That shit drives me crazy. That's like, oh my God, you just missed the best part of the song. It's not in that 30 seconds. The best
Everybody calm down.
Solo.
The thing is, it's an aesthetic that works because people kind of need the hit. Like that's for crowds where they get bored easily. They don't have the patience. Maybe on some level, there's no trust involved. Like you just need to keep hitting them with something new because you don't know if you can even keep their attention or if they even even trust you long enough to get through a whole song. So you just keep feeding them, and it's like you overwhelm the sensibilities. But the problem is that people can't sit and enjoy the moment. You know, like
I think there's a time and place for those kind of DJs. I mean, a lot of those kind of DJs are friends of mine, and I kind of get it because they come from a place of showmanship.
Yeah.
So it's a different aesthetic altogether. Like,
Right.
you know, and I think they also appreciate what we're talking about, that tradition we're talking about. They're just not cut from that cloth to perform in that way, because they cater to a certain, I mean, they're hip hop style DJs. So it's all about what you can, how much trickery you can do to manipulate records and what have you. And you're right, it is a constant feeding the attention machine to keep people engaged. And I think a lot of times they may even feel like if a record plays too long, they're not doing the work. They're not really getting busy per se. But it's something to be said about when you can let records play and breathe and peak out. You know, I learned from Mancuso personally when he used to work at Dubspot in the late 90s, how important it is to let records reach their peak. You know, records were recorded, these live records that we cherish so much with live musicians, long compositions, they didn't record those records with the intention of DJs to cut them off. You know, sometimes you can, the anticipation of the end of a song where a singer is singing at the top of their lungs and the band picks up and all the instruments are blaring after 3 or 4 minutes of calmness, that can impact a dance floor either the same way or even harder than going through 3 records in that same amount of time. If you have the patience for it, if you let the music speak to you and resonate with you, these records can impact a dance floor like you know, we see it all the time. You know, we know what records we like, where like Over and Over by Sylvester, the end.
Yeah.
Like Don't Leave Me This Way, Teddy Pendergrass, the long version, where he's like, baby, please, at the end, and he's like going crazy. Like, you can't cut that off. Like,
No, everybody.
You can't cut that off.
Everybody calm down.
You Light My Fire. When Lolita comes in.
Do you think
Another example. Yep.
So do you think then like this is something that like that style is one of those styles that would be totally, it's just like really more of like a top 40 or hip hop or those kinds of genres, and certainly not house genres? Or
I
like,
think
because like I've been in the wonderful, fortunate position to be able to be in the room and heard a lot of DJs, because we do parties with guests every week, right? And a full slew of them. So I've heard a lot of DJs, right? And I think I've even heard some house DJs that do that kind of style nowadays. Whereas that certainly is not something that would have existed in the early 90s or the late 80s, right? Or even the mid 90s, you know? But that's something that does still happen now, especially even in some of the like more like, you know, your jungle or your like, because I love all kinds of music. So I'll go out and listen to, you know, me and Red had a real good time one night where she came to my house and we were like, DJ Boris all night long, right? So, you know, it's just you know, there are lots of different things that can happen. But do you find that that's more of like a hip hop top 40 kind of thing? Or
in a way, yes. I think that whole phenomena came with a couple of things. It came with like mix show DJs on radio, because you have a certain amount of time to play and they're just, you know, cutting records up and throwing all these records in to get them all in. It comes with the whole like bottle service kind of, you know, technology, the way people experience music now, and the way that people consume music. It's instant, exactly. Back in the days when we went out and we listened to music, we were really paying attention to like nuances and the way records built. But a lot of that attention span has decreased over time because people want they want things fast. They want it now. You know, they don't have the patience, unfortunately. And I think it's kind of sad in a way because it's a lost art. I think it's pretty much even, you know, down to like blending, and there's certain aspects of DJ culture from that traditional aspect that's not as appreciated. Like I remember when I started going to the shelter and hearing Timmy play, and you know Merlin back in the days, and how you would be captivated because you would hear a record rocking for like 5-10 minutes, and then all of a sudden you hear this next record creeping in. You're like, what's that? What's that? It's like coming in little, you know, the record is riding, and then boom, it's there. It's like that patience is kind of lost, man. It's like everybody is so on, just slam it in, get through it, on to the next one. You know, it's a lost art. And I actually wonder, Be Polite, how do you feel as a dancer? Like, you know, you've experienced all of these kinds of DJs. You've experienced that traditional side. Like, how did it feel to endure that kind of mixing?
It hurt. That chopping, like that whole like chopping things up, it hurts like physically after a while. It hurt.
No, but I'm asking.
Oh, the long.
Yeah, how does that other thing feel? Like,
that's great. That's
yeah.
You know what it is? It builds an anticipation where like it creates like this like almost like a giddy tension, because there's a part of you that wants the new song to get mixed in immediately, because if you recognize what it is, then you get hyped. She's like, yo, it's about to happen. My record's about to drop. I'm just waiting for it. I'm a two-step right now. I'm a break down to the step because I know it's about to hit. You know, but especially with like how Timmy plays, because Timmy will give you a record and he'll give you 2 records simultaneously. So it's like you gotta have to pick one in your head, because the song that you're waiting for, that might just be the backing track.
First of all, you need to be aware that he's playing 2 songs. But go on.
Right, exactly. That's the thing. Is like, first of all, you got to be aware there's 2 songs, and then you got to understand that like whatever it is you're getting, if you wait too long, it might get mixed out, and the one that you thought that was going to be the background song is actually the main one, and you better get on it and work with whatever you're given. Like he
mind fucks people all the time. But I actually like that shit. I love it. There's a science to it. You can either be good at it, or bad at it.
Yes.
Period.
Well, it creates a tension because you don't know what's going to happen next. So you have to basically choose your level of commitment, and then kind of like ride whatever the wave is. You just have to ride with it.
Dramatic. This drama. It causes a lot of drama on the dance floor. But what's crazy about that is going to the loft and experiencing Mancuso, letting records just breathe
from
in
top to bottom.
Natural beauty. It's like a juxtaposition of the whole thing, and that's an appreciation too. And I know a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people say, I didn't really like the loft style because there's no real mixing involved. But honestly, like, I developed a real strong appreciation for the way he played music and programmed as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of programming because he's not just playing music, he's setting tones, and you know, everything is a build. There's a story being told in the way he played the records. But the most important thing is the sound
Mm-hmm.
system. He was real technical and meticulous about how speakers were placed and wired, and even up to the height of the turntables, and you know how it's set up so that he's not arching his back, all that stuff. Using a flashlight to cue the record, but just letting the records breathe, and then watching the crowd explode to records play from the very beginning to the end, and then clapping at the end. That's like
clapping.
That's something else.
But also what you talk about in terms of production. This is why when you see me in the chat, and I'm always going on about arrangements.
Yep.
That the songs themselves, like one of the things that, I guess because I'm getting old, so like it becomes difficult now, whereas before like a 6-minute long house record was fine for me. But now I'm just like, you know, arrangement wise, this song is dope, but it really could just be 3 minutes. Because the first minute and a half is just, a loop before something happens. The last 3 minutes is just the loop for someone to mix out. But a lot of the older records, they were designed to give you movement from beginning to end. So if it was a 7-minute long record, it was designed, it was arranged for 7 minutes of stuff happening. Like, we're gonna crescendo here, we're gonna bring the strings in, we're gonna such and such, then we're gonna bring it back down again, and then we're gonna just have like the horns and the timpani play during this part, and then the guitar solo is gonna drop in, and then bring it back up, and then the choir's gonna come in, and then we'll fade to, but the songs were arranged, they justified their time.
Yep.
And I feel like that one of the things with our modern sensibility, and I say, I love me some acid house. Love me some old school 80, 85 Chicago stuff.
Funny you say that. But that's exactly what I was thinking about when you mentioned records staying the same. But, those records were meant to hypnotize you.
Right. Right. And also, if you listen, and you know this, they're subtle though, because especially with like acid house stuff, like there's all kinds of subtle movements that are happening in the background where stuff is like being filtered and tweaked, and so like even in that repetition, there's still subtle movements. But again, those are designed to hypnotize you, versus, but a lot of stuff that I see floating across on Juno or Traxsource, where it's more like it's less about the craft of it and the intention of the arrangement, and more about the commercial need for what the song needs to be in order for someone to like mix it. Okay, they're gonna need a minute to mix this with whatever track is playing ahead of it. They're gonna need a minute at the end so they can like mix it out with whatever other thing. And maybe I'm wrong in it, because
No, you're not.
You're not at all.
But just it's some of the stuff doesn't, like I said, like some of those arrangements don't justify themselves when you have like all this movement happening in a midsection, and it's like all this meticulous stuff put together in the middle of it, and then just nothing in the beginning or end, like it's like feeling like it's considered.
Yeah, the feeling is just lost, man. The intention behind why records are being made and marketed and sold online, it's just not what it was. There's a lot of, it's just contrived. I hear a lot of contrived productions out there, and what are we going to do? We just got to do our best to preserve as much as we can. I try to do that as a producer and a DJ. I'm sure you try to do that as a dancer. I'm sure Red and Synth, doing events, they're trying to preserve historical stuff.
That's why we're here right now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's literally why we are here right now.
Yep.
Part of it, absolutely.
Well,
I'll say that, like, that
we got nerdy. Yeah. We got real nerdy though. We got nerdy in this conversation.
But this is exactly the great parts of these conversations, to hear the breakdown, to hear, we learn a little bit more about you each individually, about where you come from, why you care about the things you care about. But this right here, the breakdown, is the wonderful part. It really is wonderful, but but it really is, It's really interesting. We all come from the same place and the same cloth, but we all have different, the same bedspread with different pillowcases. And it's just really interesting, and it's really good stuff. And Be Polite, we got to get out of here, guys. But Be Polite, I just got to say, with what you said about the, I can't even remember. Just go on. So much just happened. Let's go on.
I stay in the nerd zone. This is my thing.
But it's not the nerd zone. It's because the people who came up with you, we know exactly what you're talking about. It's the outsiders that either right now we're looking in and learning something, like, this is a lifestyle for us.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a community.
you know what I mean? We don't just do this on Saturday night. We wake up with this on Monday morning. It's what we do. So it's really interesting. And this is what keeps us bonded and keeps us together and keeps us tuning into each other, you know?
And you know what? I have to say, like, I'm really, like, it touches my soul when I just think about our dance community family on a whole. You know, there's a lot of history, there's been a lot of drama as well, but it's all for the better good. Like, that's what family do, they be family.
That's drama's part of life.
Right, but it's beautiful. We have something really special being the mecca of this music. Like, it's special, man. It's special.
This pandemic has made us really realize we can't take this for granted. The DJs, the music, the socialization, all of it, we can't take that for granted at this point. We realize how actually, I think some of us took it for granted, and to realize how important it really was. Like, where people, like, I see the post and, oh my gosh, thank you for the DJs and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, you wouldn't have felt like that, 5 months ago. So now you realize this is a part of your life. It's very important. And I've also realized, I could say, how important it was for so many DJs to play the music, to keep playing the music. Like, I was like watching, because now you get to see the DJs up close and personal. Like, wow, I think this is as important for you as it is for me.
Oh, yeah.
That's a beautiful thing to realize. It really is. So here we
Look,
go.
Sometimes I start my journey sets and I'm exhausted. I'm tired. And by the end of the set, I am so energized and amped up. Like, I can't even go to bed. I stay up another 2-3 hours just watching the chat room just to see what I missed. Because music energizes you. It really does. It vitalizes your soul. Like, we need it. We need to do this. It's an outlet.
I think it's also why when all of this happened, none of us really like skipped a beat, right? We was all like, okay, well, the clubs are closed, but this still got to happen because this is a part of me and it's important and it's essential and I need to nurture this for everybody else, you know? So I think that's one of the reasons too. It's like, we all know this is a big part of who we are individually, as a community, as collective, as, but,
Yeah. This will go down in history as one of the biggest learning times for all of us. Like, emotionally, spiritually, all those things, but also literally, digitally, all these things that we were all like, okay, I'm just gonna go on down to the club and meet my friends and blah blah blah. Now we're like, I can't. So how can we make that happen? We've all learned so much in all of this that it's amazing. It's pretty amazing. So nobody signed up for any of this, but here we are.
Hey,
here we are.
If you told
Guys,
me
we
that
gotta
this
get out of here. This has been awesome and amazing.
It really has. I appreciate it.
Can't wait till we can actually give each other hugs and shit. Like, this is crazy.
All that good stuff. All that good stuff. Thank you guys so much for your time and energy and music, dancing, and thank you. And so on that note, I'm just going to go ahead and say, she is Cynthia Rose.
And she is Red. Madam Redness.
This has been the Bedtime Stories, and that was Spinna and Be Polite, and everybody that tuned in and stayed with us until now, because we've gone way over time. It's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
me. Friends, we'll be here next Tuesday. I think we know who we have. Sin, who do we have?
We just got a flyer too.
Next Tuesday, we're gonna have Kervin and Khalif. Is that right?
Ooh,
wow.
Kervin Mark, DJ Kervin Mark, and Khalif, the wonderful dancer.
Gotta watch that.
Yes, please do. So, guys, thank you. Sin, you have anything you want to say?
I love you. That is
I love you. Spinna, be polite. Any
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
Love is the message.
Love is the message. Love is the message.
Message.
Music is the answer. The answer is the message.
Yeah.
I love it. All
Thank
right.
you guys. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you next week. This has been Bedtime Stories. If you missed any parts of this, you can find us on the YouTube. And, you know, on that note, we say good night. Yeah?
Peace. Night.
Peace.
Now the blooper reel.
Okay, guys, we're not live anymore.
Okay.
No more live broadcasting.
Proud everybody.
Thank
Yeah,
you
that
guys
was
so much. That was so good.
That was intense. We got
That was
intense.
great. That was great.
That was awesome. We had lots of folks in there watching and
Same.
commenting.
That was great.
It was good.
Did you ever go back on IG, or where did it? Was this?
No, so what we've been doing with IG, because we were only doing IG, and then we would post up on YouTube. So we would, like each week, we would announce to the people on IG, hey, they're going to cut us off in an hour, because that's what IG does, no matter what you're doing. And so we would say, hey, they're going to cut us off in an hour. If they cut us off, the first couple of weeks, we came back, like, you know, cut us off and we would log back in. And it was just too much, because I'm
Too many codes, this,
doing all
that.
that. So
people in.
we finally decided, like, you know what? Since we're putting on YouTube, if IG cuts, so we would announce, if IG cuts us off, we're just letting you know we're not coming back. And you will find the rest of this on YouTube, and we would call it like the bonus conversation or whatever.
Right.
And that was also us trying to get more people to follow our YouTube channel.
Which is smart. I'm subscribed.
Exactly.
Right.
What'd you say, Brian?
I said I'm subscribed.
Oh,
The first time you guys said that, I went and I subscribed immediately.
Thank
I
you.
went
Yeah.
on the
So, but outside of IG, we decided, or I felt more like I'm popular on Facebook and Twitch. Sin is more popular on IG. So I was like, I think we need to spread out. And so tonight was the first night that we did Facebook, Twitch, and Instagram.
Right.
Also
And
on Facebook too.
Like,
And Instagram, of course, cut us off freaking an hour ago. But Facebook and Twitch, you know, continue the conversation. So.
and I'm trying to like start now, you know, with trying to build up my Twitch, since I got Twitch and I know lots of folks, and I want to be able to like highlight all the folks that I know that are doing stuff. So that's my intention now, that I'm going to utilize Twitch for like bedtime stories and to show other folks streams that are dope, you know, that are doing things. Yes, Amani. My daughter. She looked in and was like, oh, you're still on.
Oh, you're still awake? You and your friends. Guys, thanks so much. That was awesome.
That was
It
awesome.
really was. And and how about the surprise for me and Sin to find out, like, you guys were way more connected than we ever imagined. So
Right.
that
It's like
was great too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was great too.
I actually remember the announcement for the first Stevie Wonder party, and we thought we had missed it because I think the year before Bobbito was playing on like WBAI and was doing like all these like rare Stevie Wonder cuts, and somebody had mentioned doing something, and we thought that was the party, and we couldn't go because of school. And so then when the first official party came up, a whole group of us from Pratt all went. Like we stood out in line, we filled the court. Yeah, like a whole, like we were maybe like 7 or 8 deep from Pratt, all went out there for that. Because we were like, we thought you'd already done a party before. Like, you know, somebody's like, oh, I heard that they already did a party before, but we missed it.
We did, Baby Jupiter, but it wasn't called Wonderful.
Okay, see,
Marv was on that party too.
So there was a party before the party. Yeah, but like since from Lafayette Ave to Aisha's birthday party, when she used to live next door to Biggie's building.
Yep. That's where I played, in that little apartment.
Yeah, remember that?
And you know I went to high school with Bade, right? You do it.
That's why he told me. Like it took me a moment to realize, because he was just like, yo, I went to high school with some talent. Like he's like, everybody went to high school with were all talented. He's like, you, back like I met Yassine back when he was still being called Dante.
Yep.
And kicked it with him on like the humble. I didn't even, it was like I said, guys would just let me hang out with them. So like I was hanging out with Bade, Tyron, and Fahim.
Wow.
And we were just kicking it. And they happened to just let me be in the mix with them, and I was listening to them talk about stuff, just sitting on the side. Like that's how I learned everything about the culture, was that I was always a young kid, and all the older guys and older ladies would just talk about stuff and just let me listen. And then after a while, I realized people were comfortable with like sharing their stories with me. I'd be on the train, running to like an old garage head on the train, and like 6 stops, and they just like, yeah, first time I went to garage, my cousin got me in, blah, blah, blah. And they tell me their whole club life story, on the A train. So it's just, I've been fortunate just to be in the mix and just to be in the right places with folks that, put me on to new information.
Divine intervention there.
Oh,
Possibly,
absolutely.
but I'm also going to say it's the energy that you're giving. You're not just in the right place. You are where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
I would say
you're part of this.
Also,
and I have to refer back to myself. I've told this story so many times, but in the short version, I went to lots of clubs, and I used to go, and Shadow is the Shadow. The R&B Shadow is always my example. I used to go there and like put on my little high heels and like, I'm gonna go meet my match, because they had a party called Meet Your Match.
Right.
And it just, I mean, I had fun with my friends, but that wasn't for me. And when I finally found the right party, I went to, and you said it earlier, Spinna, Bridge Street Loft. And I fell in.
Oh, wow, you were there?
I was at Herb Martin's party at Bridge Street Loft. I will never forget. My friend brought me there, they schooled me. You need to be ready 4:00 in the morning, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I had seen them do it so long that I was like, this makes sense to me. And I went, and I remember leaning against the wall and being in tears, like, oh my God. I was looking for the puzzle, and my piece fits in here. I kept trying to fit my piece in where it didn't fit. And it fit in there. And I remember leaning against the wall and just crying, good tears. And this guy came up to me and he said, are you okay? And this girl came over, and she said, I didn't know either one of them. She said, she's fine. Like, because it was one of those moments where every once in a while somebody cries at the party. Something happens that makes you cry. Something happened that makes you, whatever, good, bad. And from there, I was like, this is where I was supposed to be. This is where my puzzle piece fits. Like, I found it. And I just was like, yeah, that was a beautiful time.
Man, I wish every young party goer could experience that. It would just change it.
This whole digital thing, we're appreciating the digital thing right now, but outside of that, what's happened in the last 10 years with the whole phones and the whole pictures and the whole, because like you said, the Miami Music Conference, when it started, I can't say started, I wasn't there when it started, but when I started going, so good. And when the phones started coming into play, and you like, I just want to go hear the DJ. I want to just be in front of Louis or Spinna or whoever and just be like, you have all these people that are like, picture. And I remember yelling at people like, so you got your pictures. What do you need pictures of now? Because didn't you come for the music? So don't you want to dance now? Get your historical pictures, your commentary, your this, but don't you want to just dance now? And that was so annoying. So annoying. Like there's a difference between them and us, Yeah. And don't get it twisted. If I'm somewhere and I'm like, yeah, I'm in the booth with Boris, I'm getting pictures.
Boris.
Boris is my example, because you can't, if you're not part of that, I'm part of this. If you're not part of that, you can't just get in the booth. And I love Boris. So I'd be like, oh my God, like I fan out. But you can't just, but the people, I'm like, oh my God, don't you guys just want to dance? Like, yeah. So here we are. But it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
Our part is.
Yeah, I think it's just important for us to keep cultivating and teaching the folks that come along, you know. It's one of the reasons why I love the Funk Box party, because Funk Box is one of those parties where you have people that are our age and older, and but then you have all the way to young
Babies.
right? To the
It's-
babies.
Babies.
I mean,
Having
the,
all of those people in one room is
it's an
really
introductory thing.
Babies.
That's
It's the
what
same way that Soulgasm was, the babies.
that's
We
what
had
it's
Evelyn,
supposed to
and Evelyn is always going to be my no shade.
be. Matriarch.
The older example. Thank
Hmm.
you. To
it's
the
necessary
babies.
though, because that's a part of us
Absolutely.
teaching them, yo, you don't get on the fucking dance floor with your phone. Or yo, don't just walk through that circle. Or yo, like, you know, that's how you teach them that.
Yeah.
They
I mean,
learn that.
And we vocally taught them. I don't know if people still do that now. We vocally, hey, this right here,
No, you
yeah,
pull to the
you're
side
gonna
and be
be
like,
kicked
listen,
in the head if you stand here. What you want to do is go over there
Right.
to the newcomers corner and like get that together, figure out where you want to be in the room.
they're like, no, they're dancing over here. That doesn't go right here. No,
But you know,
you're not gonna just make a fucking mess and leave it everywhere.
right?
No.
Someone's got to clean that up.
This is our sanctuary, you know.
But
It's
this is
important.
the reason why folks got a mentor too. You know, as the reason why I started taking time and spending a lot of time talking to the younger dancers.
That's a wonderful thing.
Because like I had to, you know, for me it was like I'm not a superstar dancer. You know, like if nothing, at most I can say is I'm a hometown hero. You know, I'm a local hero.
I'm glad you know that. Thank you.
It is going to be one of the few times you're ever going to hear me admit to it. But the thing is that, you know, I realize, but for me, I always feel like I have to earn the respect of the young heads if I'm going to have them listen to anything that I'm going to tell them. So I go out, so I try to like, okay, let me see what they're working with. Let me try to understand where they're at before I start critiquing it. And then let me explain to them why the old folks are looking at them crazy. Okay, you're wondering why you're getting this much. Okay, this is what happened. I think there was one time in Funk Box actually where I had to stop this kid from jumping in a circle at Sullivan Room. But the reason why I had to stop him was because I think Sekou had just come back from somewhere. Like he'd been gone traveling, like him, Tone, and like Mike Clark. All of them had been out of town for like months. They hadn't seen each other for months. So they showed up at like, you know, they showed up at Funk Box. Right. And hadn't seen each other for months. It was like, yo. And so the circle was basically like family circle. Like you can't just jump in this right now. You gotta be a part of the family to be in this circle right now. And as one cat tried to jump in and had to be like, hold on there. Because he was just
slow down, grasshopper.
Right, but I also had to explain to him because he was ready, you know, he was ready to start swinging. I was like, whoa, no, you got to understand. These cats haven't seen each other in a long time. Right now, this is like a family vibe right now. This isn't really just like anyone can, because if you don't explain it to them, they'll just think, oh, the old heads are hating on me.
And that's the only way they will learn. Because at that point, when you tell that story, they then learn that that's Mike, that's Sekou, that's, you know, and so the next time they show up, they're thinking of those things as well. Like, okay, wait, there's Mike, there's Sekou, what are they doing? Let me figure out what I'm gonna do.
But and also learn how to read the circle. Because a lot of times nobody teaches them, like, how can you tell this is a closed or open circle? You know, like, how do you read the energy to know that you can get it? Because even from like the little bit of time when I was in hip hop before I got in the house, like it was a known thing. Like you don't just jump in someone's circle at a party where you're by yourself. Right. You don't know these people. You don't know what you're jumping into. If somebody battles in you by yourself, you don't know what's going to happen. If you will mess around and you win.
Right.
And they don't like that. So like you got to, you know, you have to be able to read the energy. And so this was, you know, this is lessons that we came into it learning. It was like you read the energy of the space before you participate. You know, you earn your right to be recognized.
Right.
Yeah, I think we take all of that for granted because we came so much earlier, and so the people that come later, we're kind of like, whoa, hey, wait. You know, we have to. They didn't have to. For me, like shelter would be a great example of going to shelter and somebody saying, because somebody actually said to me, hey, those squares, literally those, see these 8 squares, like those squares, and they were able to point to somebody and be like, that's so and so squares, and I have names but I'm not going to name them, that's so and so squares, you shouldn't be right there. Like they just put powder there, they just went, and it was no shade, it was giving me the opportunity, the respect to be like, so I want you to know. And they took me by the shoulders and said, but you should be here.
Wow.
And then literally, because over the years, then I had my own squares at shelter because I put in the work and I earned my space. And I will never forget meeting my friend. He came and I was like, hey, that's my powder. I just put that down. You can't be there, but here. And I took him by the shoulders, but you can be here. We're friends till this day. We tell the same story, but just, it was respect. And I so much respect the people from the loft, the garage, for whatever, for teaching me that. I'm really grateful for that outside, you know, I'm just really grateful for that. I really am, because it made me part of what's happening. You know, somebody cared enough to do that. I don't feel like people do that a lot anymore. And I wish that we would. I wish we would, you know. I did a lot at Soulgasm. I did a lot.
I mean, the kids are looking for it. And trust, like what you guys did at Soulgasm and like the early funk box, like the effect that it had reverberating out has been felt. Because a lot of the people that I met at both of those parties that were, you know, like they were maybe just a few years younger than I was, you know, and just coming from wherever they were coming from in the world or in the country, now they're all considered, you know, OGs from Sweden and Paris, and you know, now they've gotten their, you know, they've been in it now 15 years, 10 years, and now they've got a whole bunch of young heads looking up to them. And they'll tell, yeah, and the thing is, and they'll tell their students. I've met students, and be like, oh, such and such is my teacher. They told me that when I get to New York, I have to go to Funk Box, and they said that if I go, I should look for this person and this person and this person and this person. You know, I mean, I've said, you remember the show that we did with Mawu in the Bronx?
Mm-hmm.
There was a young girl there from
was
Switzerland.
Where was it? At the Hip Hop Museum?
Hostos.
Something like that?
It was at Hostos College.
Oh.
Yeah, Mawu did a whole dance performance, and Afro Mosaic was a part of it as guests. Like we were like part of the guest performance in it. And it was like Mawu, and then he had a couple of other ladies sprinkled in, and it was like a whole show thing about the underground club world. And, you know, at the after party, young lady from Switzerland comes up and was just like, hi, you know, my name is Ocean, and I'm Natalia. I'm Natalia's, you know, student. And she told me that if I get to New York, I should find Afro Mosaic Soul. But mind you, you know, like Nalita, like she's back,
a young girl, and she came to park every week after that.
Yeah, she
did. Such as, you know, and now she's back home.
Yes, she
did. That love and energy
and
that etiquette and what she learned through us is true.
Yeah, and mind you, like, and it's deep because like her teacher used to kick it with us. Like when her teacher first came to to New York, we used to do like a little session in Midtown. Like, yeah, there was funny enough, it was a mosaic shop that had a dance space in the back.
Oh, nice.
And we had like little dance sessions there. And like her and her friends that were visiting were some of the only people that showed up. Like it wasn't really big or popular. It was like maybe no more than 10 people at the most ever. It's usually like 5 or 6 of us in there for hours just dancing. And she loved coming through and hanging out with us, and remembered us that much that when she went back, she's like, oh, if you go to New York, find these people. You know, and so then, and she was like, you know, they taught me a lot, not about dancing, but just about like the culture what the culture is supposed to be.
Right.
And that for me, I think that's the important thing, is like reaching out and finding ways to get young heads to understand the culture of it in whatever way that they understand it, but at least introducing it to them so that they understand that there's another way to be. Because a lot of times, you know, young folks are who they are because they don't think there's any other option.
It's true.
Because, you know, I didn't think there was any other option until I found the underground. You know, I went through thinking they took me to Tea Party. I just thought I was going to read some poetry and go home. Like, I'll read some poetry and go back to campus, and that's it.
Your puzzle piece fitted, and you didn't expect that.
Exactly.
And that's the beautiful thing.
This is the perfect time to turn some more young kids out.
Let me tell you. So now part of this whole digital thing is, now you know how we all, and I know every one of us have had that whole conversation in our heads and out loud of, so how do we get like more the younger crowd to come to our events, and how do we involve them? But what's funny is it's no different in this digital thing, because at least for me, I'm still like, so now we've got these platforms, but still, how do I get the young people to come onto my Twitch? I'm not really sure. I don't know.
I mean,
well, I think that
just stop before you even answer. Just stop and think about what I'm just saying.
What I'm gonna say is, one of the things that I've done with the like marketing company that I work with, that we've been doing live streams with, and you know, some of the people that we put on are people that don't necessarily have huge followings that are going to be like, you know, bringing their following along to these live streams, right? But we have to have a certain number of viewership also, because we're doing this for brands, right? Like the Illinois Lottery and shit like that. So one of the things that we've done is really reach out to the global demographic that we're looking for, right? So and it's really allowed us to have like thousands of people attend these streams, where, you know, it's amazing to me. And you're like, yo, all these people from Colombia and Bolivia and freaking you know, Switzerland and all these other places are now in this stream. And that's the benefit of being on these online platforms, is that we have now a global reach, and we have to think of it that way. So that's the meaning that way. Think of it that way, right? And then now use that thought and direct it outward to the planet, and stop thinking of like, I'm in New York.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely not thinking that.
You know, but that's how.
Thanks
That's
so
how,
much.
because we got freaking thousands of people to see like Fly Lady Die, who I love her.
Love her.
But she does not have a huge following. She's in Toronto, right? She don't have a huge following. We got thousands of people to see her.
That's awesome.
You know, so it's by reaching out to the global community. We need to just do more outreach to the global community. Because
if you have answers about the outreach part, let us know. I would say for the Twitch, I've been really amazed, because Twitch started as a gamers platform.
Right.
Because I flick around on Twitch. I've found and followed so many DJs in this that I would have never heard and never listened to. And I really am grateful for that, actually. I'm really glad about that. When I go on Twitch, it's like 20 DJs just went live, and I'm like, and I'll just literally choose just like, oh, this one right now. Like, that's what I'm feeling. That would have never happened in actual life.
Right.
But the idea of sharing and getting it's just, I don't know. I like it a lot, but the fact that Twitch was built for something completely different is so very interesting. When you go on and you see all the things that can happen, and now Spinna, you know, because I've watched you from the beginning when you started to like what it's developed to now.
Yeah.
You're utilizing Twitch for like, oh, okay, wait, what? I can do this. I can do I can do my OBS. I can do
I'm gonna have 16 different emotes, and I got all. Don't
it's
think
amazing.
I'm putting your emotes up on other people's streams.
I can have emotes of myself. I can have an emote of me, like, and it's like that's a thing. And you're like, wait a minute. So you mean my followers can just like put like it's overwhelming. And once you begin to understand it, it's like, oh wow, there's so much happening.
And this
because when I go on Twitch and I see these gamers, and there's like this 17-year-old girl sitting in the living room, and she's got like a headpiece, and she's like, I'm just like gaming, and I'm just like, what? And she's got on like a cat hat, and I'm not exaggerating. When the headbands has got like cat ears, and she's like, hey guys, it just was like, what? But I'm looking at all this, and she's got like 3,000 people just watching her play a game.
So
just like, hey guys, and I'm like, this is actually pretty amazing.
Bugged out.
Right.
The thing
pretty
is,
amazing.
I work with students that are like that. Like I work at Pratt tutoring for the higher educational opportunity program during the semester, and some of the students I deal with, they'll be on Twitch, you know, in between classes or whatever, and yeah, the cat hat and the making
it's
the little
pretty
house
amazing.
like
what's pretty amazing about it's not that they're on it, it's that there are this many people that follow them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was not effortless, but what I see them doing is just kind of like, I'm going to play this game and I'm going to tell you about how I'm playing the game. Okay, I jumped over the star or whatever. And I take nothing away from what they're doing. I respect it. But like 3,000 people are like, oh my God, she jumped over the star, and oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Because I'm watching now. Now I'm like, how do I get 3,000 people to just
watch me jump over a star?
Way harder than anybody thinks. Way harder.
I've seen DJs on there that I'm like, who are they, and how do they have 10,000 people watching them? There's DJs on there that obviously you can tell they've been doing this before COVID. But
Right.
there's some I've seen. I'm like, how did they get this following?
Right.
It's bizarre, but they've been on.
Actually, it's probably not that bizarre because we weren't in there. They're probably
We're in that
as I call
world.
it, the parallel world.
Right.
They were probably right next to us doing whatever they were doing, but somehow that digital part came up and they it's pretty great. But
But you know what? I kind of parallel that even to New York, and how like there's I don't know if you're aware. Well, I'm sure you know that like in North Brooklyn, there's all these like pop-up warehouse parties, and these kids are like partying their asses off, and they'll have like 1,000 people in a room, and they're no older than 25, 26. They're like late teens to like mid 20s, and they're going in.
yeah.
It's a new world. That's their world. They don't really associate with what we're doing too much, but they built their own scene, and they have their own way of reaching their audiences, and they're partying.
Yeah. What I know is I've come across a lot of DJs that I would have never come across, and even people we know. I mean, I admit it. I hope I don't sound shady, but there are people that I would have never paid attention to that I have listened to because of this situation. And I'm like, wow, this person is really good. And I was sleeping, and I was taking things for granted. And maybe so I'm like, I've expanded my circle. Like if we do get to have a live party, or even on my Friday party that I have 2 DJs every week, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to present, and I've already talked to them, these couple of DJs that I just met through Twitch, where I was like, dude, you're freaking rocking. I do a little event. I think that you should come and play over here because you could expand your audience, but also you could give my audience something different and new and something they never had. And we should all embrace that part,
Yeah, that's great.
It's pretty interesting, and I like it. So we need to get out of here.
Yeah, it's 1 o'clock.
Exactly.
Wow.
This has been our longest bedtime stories yet, but this has been one of the most comfortable and wonderful, and thank you so much, bedtime story.
has.
Great.
It
It
has.
really
Thank all.
has.
It was much needed. I love you guys for real.
Very much. And thank you so much for your time, your energy, your stories, your everything, your music,
All of it.
your dancing, and yeah.
All of it. All of it.
So, and Spinna, do either of your daughters have any interest in any of this? They care
Yeah,
about this?
Yeah, my youngest one is 10. She's taking songwriting classes already.
Oh,
And my older one just told me this week she wants to start making music. She's 16, but she's done violin, piano.
She's 16.
16.
So
wait,
what
what?
you're saying is your girl
Already?
for 2022, we're gonna write the song that Stevie's gonna sing when Brian does the spoken word and Mawu and Mosaic, Afro Mosaic Soul, and everybody dances in the video.
I'm sorry. I'm still trying to get over like.
I'm working all this out in my head like this needs to happen.
Allegedly.
Yeah, but
Presented by Spike Lee. All right, guys. As somebody in one of our comments said, yes, speak it into fruition.
That's right.
Hello. All right. All right, guys. That's it. Is
Yes.
everybody good?
Right.
Thank you so much.
thank you.
And I'm going to cut us off. You ready?
Yeah.
Go.